Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us tonight on a wonderful fall evening. We really appreciate it. It's so nice to have a good crowd here tonight. Interesting items happening, and we welcome you to our school board meeting where it is the mission of the Lake Central School Corporation to guide our students to be self-directed learners and productive members of our society. And that takes a whole team of us to do that. And so you'll learn more about how we combine with other agencies to provide that teamwork. So moving ahead, Dr. Baracco.
We do have a couple of revisions to the agenda for this evening. They would be under Roman numeral 7B, 1 and 3, Mr. Gandolfi, and 7D1 under Mrs. Castaneda. Other parts of the agenda are the same as what you received last week.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Are there any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And moving on to correspondence, Mrs. Lesentine.
There is no correspondence tonight.
All right, and moving on to liaison committee reports, Mr. Marshall?
Yes, the next scheduled Westlake joint managing board meeting is around Thanksgiving time, 21st of November at the school town of Munster. And I have nothing to report on personnel interview.
All right, thank you, Mr. Marshall. And Mrs. Suze.
The only thing I have is for Dollars for Scholars. There's Ghouls for Schools this Wednesday, 4 to 6. 8th grade and lower, $5 a child that will participate in trick-or-treating. Come out of the weather and have a good time.
Very good.
DJ, face painting.
All right. And is there anything for St. John redevelopment?
No.
Okay,
Nothing at this time.
thank you. And Mr. Baxo?
Dyer Parks Department, that meeting was held last week. They're building a new park in High Point Prairie called Everly Park. They started to put a walking path around the park, but they had to stop because of some complaints about this path and where it was located in relation to residential property, so they stopped on that. And then with our redevelopment committee, there was a meeting also last week, but the only thing that came out of that is they had a problem with the supplier for the fencing going down Calumet Avenue.
I wonder.
And they finally got a hold of the supplier in Texas. I believe they're in Texas, so they're back on schedule. They're getting their supply of fencing in so they can finish that.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Baxo. And Mrs. Lesentine?
Nothing from Cherville Redevelopment.
And legislative committee, I have nothing to give you at this point in time. And Lake Central Education Foundation, we have a big group here tonight because we are granting awards. So we thank you all for joining us tonight, including many of our board officers and board members. And the Wellness Committee, and I must apologize to our board members because I did not go to Monday's wellness meeting. But Dr. Bracco, or not the Wellness, Lake Central Education Foundation, but Dr. Bracco was there. So is there anything we need to know?
From the Education Foundation?
Uh-huh.
No, the bulk of the work that night was before I got there when they went through all the grants and made the determinations who would get to come here tonight and get some cash. So
All right.
we talked about the Science Olympiad fundraiser for the most part, and then a few other minor details that we still have to work out.
Very good, and I apologize to the members of the Education Foundation that I totally missed it. But yeah, the grant process is very good, and that does give us the extra money to enrich in our classrooms or to develop extracurricular activities for our students. The Science Olympiad will be hosted, an invitational first one for Lake Central in January. That's what Dr. Baracco is referencing. So we're hoping that a lot of you will come and support that event. Because that's, you know, it's kind of nice to have a lot of community support for that. That's a great opportunity. All right, and the Wellness Committee. Is there anything to report on that?
Now, there's a subcommittee working on the January Wellness Challenge, and we should have something to report on what that'll be in November sometime.
Okay, very
Probably
good.
the second meeting in November.
Very good. We appreciate that. And moving on to official school board business topics, consent agenda. Dr. Bracco.
I seek board approval for the minutes from the executive session workshop and regular meeting from October 9th, as well as approval of claims, payroll, and extracurricular expenditures received in your packets.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Are there any questions, discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, and right now, we have an opportunity to make a public comment. If anybody would like to comment on something coming up in the board agenda for voting purposes. So before we make our vote, if anybody would like to make a comment about something we vote on. Hearing, seeing none? Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. And moving ahead to our official school board business topics. And board members, if you don't mind, what I would like to do is after Mr. Miller does his Hammond Area Career Center report, we'd like to flip Lake Central Education Foundation up into the, right below that. Okay. So that way our educators can get on home. But we did want to keep Mr. Miller.
Okay, Scott, if you want to come up, and you can use the podium if you prefer, or just stand in front, whichever is your preference, and take it away. Thanks for coming.
Yes.
And if you don't mind at the podium, and that way our cameraman can get you on TV, Mr. Miller is the principal of the Hammond Area Career Center located in Hammond. And several of us were able to go visit that one day. Was it last week or the week before, I think?
Week before.
And to tour the facilities and learn more about what they offer to our students, because some of our Lake Central students go to Hammond to the ACC. I've learned the terminology, the ACC, right? Now, and that way we can get a better understanding how we're getting our students career ready. So Scott, thank you for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure. Well, good evening, President Malkow, Superintendent Baracco, honored school board members. It is my pleasure to come before you tonight and tell you a little bit about what happens at the Area Career Center in Hammond. Let me first say a little bit about myself. I am a Lake Central graduate. I graduated in '94. My wife graduated in '92 from Lake Central. I live in Cherville, and my daughter comes to Lake Central. She's a junior this year. So I'm invested in your school. I love the school. I have fond memories from high school coming to Lake Central. I did, before I get too far along, I know they're a little bit nervous, I'm going to let them say their part. I brought a couple of Lake Central students along, and they're going to just tell you a little bit about their experience, and then I'll fill in after they're finished. So, Nayeli, you want to come first?
Sure. Perfect. Can you move forward just a bit with the podium because they can't see around the pillar in the room? Yeah.
Okay.
So, hi everybody, my name is Nayel Lee and this is Jacqueline Thomas. I'm a member of the National Technical Honor Society at the Career Center as well as Jacqueline. We both were inducted into the NTHS last year, so this is our second year in the society. And some requirements include 3.0 GPA or higher, good attendance, and showing excellence in the specific program that you're in. I'm in the Culinary Arts and Hospitality Management program, and Jacqueline is in the Early Childhood Development program. So with NTHS, we are required to complete community service hours that benefit Hammond and its residents. Jacqueline will take it from here, explaining more about some of the projects we participate in.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline. Like Nayela said, we participate in community service projects that service the Hammond residents and Hammond itself. Last year when we were inducted, it was later in the year and it was harder to complete projects, but we did complete one. We went to Wolf Lake on a Saturday and we picked up litter on the side of the road. This year we've already had lots of opportunities to do community service that all go with our schedules. One we just completed is we were collecting donations from our classmates for the Carmelite Home for Children in East Chicago. And by collecting items and also donating items ourselves, we were benefiting Hammond students who possibly live at the home and also learning to give back to others, which I think is an important part of our program.
Okay, so a little more about my program itself. We automatically think of food, of course, you know, culinary arts. But, you know, we do more than that. We also learn how to manage sanitary environments. We learn how to conduct ourselves as well as control, you know, a staff that we might have in the future, because a long-term goal is opening your own restaurant. And we also learn cooking methods and knife skills, and so the culinary program has definitely formed me to who I am today, and hopefully that's the path that I will continue, you know, no more changing careers.
Before I talk about my program, I wanted to also note that I was part of an advisory board at the Career Center last year. I was the vice president on it, and it was similar to NTHS, where we would do community service, but we would also mostly do school-related fundraising. I'm in the early childhood program. My first year was a bunch of learning bookwork and how to deal with different situations in a classroom. And my second year, I go out 4 days a week and I actually work in a field. I'm in a 3-year-old classroom this year. And when I graduate, I'll have my CDA, which is a teaching credential.
Wait, say that again, slower and louder. What is it?
I will have my CDA, a teaching credential. So I can go into a daycare once I graduate high school and be a lead teacher, or go to an actual school and be an assistant teacher.
So yeah, she is going 4 days out of the week, Monday through Thursday. She doesn't actually report to the Career Center. She's reporting to a preschool early childhood education site, Head Start program. She has to earn 450 hours over the course of the 2 years in her internship. So we have 16 programs at the Career Center. I did provide a packet to the board members. There's some summary sheets and then individual sheets about each of the programs we have there. And what I try to tell parents, this is the things I try to communicate the most, is that the perception for some is that it is either college or careers. And what I try to explain to parents is that really the best situation for a young person is both. It's both. That you're going to leave high school with a marketable skill as well as being prepared for post-secondary success. And that's really the best scenario for almost all families, is if you're prepared for post-secondary success and you have a skill, you can get hired, and many times your employers are going to pay a portion of your college instead of burdening that onto your parents. You're also going to have much more focus on your post-secondary route through getting a skill in high school. So let me give you some examples. We have partnerships with the Community Hospital Network and with the Franciscan Alliance, who hire our EMTs and our CNAs out of high school, but then when they get hired on, they have 50% tuition reimbursement for whatever they want to go to in the medical field, with no contract to sign, nothing. Like, they just basically want to support them in that way. And then when they're done, they get fast-tracked into the position that they've now had a new credential for. So if they get their RN through that process, then they're giving them the jobs first. That's the scenario we have right now. With ArcelorMittal, another one of our partners, we have an electrical and mechanical engineering program that is partnered with their Future Steelworkers of America program. Through this program, they get their first year, which normally would be done at Ivy Tech, done over the 2 years at the Career Center. They go straight into their first internship the summer they graduate. Then they have 1 more year at Ivy Tech, second internship, and they're guaranteed to interview. They won't guarantee jobs, they'll guarantee interviews. But that position there for electrical mechanical engineering tech starts at $92,000 a year, with basically 1 year of college debt at Ivy Tech. That's it. They're paying over $20,000 more in starting salary for electrical mechanical engineering techs than they are for the traditional electrical engineer. They don't need the engineer, they need the person who understands the engineering, but can also actually go out and work the line. I mean, it doesn't take, you don't have to know, mathematics to understand that the cost of the line going down is expensive. Expensive. So those are just some of the examples of best case scenarios. Even some that are not maybe as impressive. I have students graduate the IT program, go work at Geek Squad. Geek Squad has $5,000 a year tuition reimbursement. It's a nice benefit. And it's part-time pay, but it's part-time pay at $12 an hour rather than minimum wage part-time pay. So we have students in that scenario going getting their degree at Purdue Cal. They're getting decent part-time money and they're getting tuition reimbursement from Best Buy. So there's a lot of scenarios that are outcomes. It's not just the traditional, that used to be Hammond Tech, this pure vocational education. No, we're trying to get people skills, college and career ready is what we're doing. All of our classes do have dual credit, minimum of 6, as many as 30, depending on the class, of free dual credits that they earn. And that pays back to Lake Central too. If we talk just a minute about finances, the state has their performance money, and one of the indicators is students who achieve dual credit. And this past year, I have it in front of me, there were 157 students that qualified, 153 from Lake Central were ones that attended the Area Career Center. So it does generate additional funding back to Lake Central when students have success at the Career Center. I could go on and on, but let me just pause. Are there any questions any of the board members have about anything?
The two young ladies, now, what year are you? Are you juniors or seniors?
We're seniors, we're second years, yep.
Okay. And they probably said that, didn't they?
We do still have the more traditional vocational in the form of welding, auto shop, auto body, where students are basically getting the skills they need at the Career Center, and they have job opportunities right out of high school. We've placed over the past 5 years 100% of our 2-year completers in welding either into the apprenticeship or onto a job. Apprenticeship starts around $52,000 after they get their journeyman. Now they actually get done with their first year of apprenticeship automatically by coming to Career Center, so they cut 1 year of time out. And then as a journeyman, they're around $75,000 a year for welding without overtime. I mean, that's just the base package there for them. So we still have that. Our most popular program right now is the Health Careers program. We have over 80 students in the Health Careers program. And then they choose either the EMT or CNA track. But again, that's not the terminal certification for anyone. No one wants to stay. When you talk to the young people, that's a stepping stone into bigger and better things for them. Any questions? I have lots of positive things I don't want to take too much time here. But anybody have any questions, concerns, comments? I was able to present, I was invited in to present to your General Advisory Board, also by Mr. Freeman about a month ago. I got to speak to the people serving on the advisory board. That was very positive. Many of them shared stories that they had hired our graduates from the Career Center, and there wasn't a negative word in the room. So that's also a positive. They mentioned National Technical Honor Society. We are also offering, you may have heard of the Governor's Work Ethics Certification. We are offering that to all of our students this year. And that is, again, an attempt to provide them with what employers are saying they need, a strong work ethic. How much does a piece of paper indicate a work ethic? Well, it's in the right direction. I will grant any critic that just a piece of paper may not guarantee that, but it's moving in the right direction. And we have over 200 employers in Indiana that recognize it. And they're doing things like, instead of having that temporary 90-day period, they're waiving that for students who come in with the 90-day or who come in with the work ethic certification. So it's another advantage, especially as more and more businesses support it. We're going to want our students to have that, and they will if they come through the Career Center. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time. Is there any questions?
I just want to compliment you on ACC and the excellent programs you have presented us.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the partnership with Lake Central, Dr. Baracco, his staff at the high school. We have real good communication, and we help each other out. I want to compliment you guys too on the CT programs you run here, Mr. Rainwater, the precision machining, the auto shop. Really high quality business, really high quality programs that you run here, and I'm proud to support you in any way I can here. Because I am also, in addition to principal of the Career Center, I am the CT director for Lake Central technically, and the other 12 high schools who attend the Career Center. So that's more or program support as needed, or if they want to start a new program, I get involved. But that's where that comes in. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to say thank you for coming and educating us, because I think everybody in today's world thinks it has to be college, college, college. And while some careers do require college, there are so many that can pay very well with a certificate or a 2-year degree. So thank you for bringing that knowledge out and letting our community know about that.
It's my pleasure. I do attend the Center for Workforce Innovations holds a lunch each, and I think there was maybe a couple people here who attended it. And actually, since like 1968, the percentage of bachelor degrees and higher in the workforce has remained stagnant.
It is.
But where the growth has happened is in the middle school jobs to the expense of the high school dropout and the high school graduate. That's where the middle skill jobs have taken over. And so by middle school jobs, I mean ones that require the credential associate's degree that you're referring to. So it's, yes, they need college, but don't just think of college as four-year university. College can be apprenticeship, it can be a trade school, any of those things, like, or Ivy Tech, Vincennes, you know, community college. That's what's needed today.
One of the ratios that we were shared with at the last school board conference when we were down in Indianapolis is when they talk about careers for, there's one job for masters, two for bachelors, and there are seven with people with 2 years or a certificate. There are 7 jobs out there for each one of those, so that's something to consider.
I've seen
as
that
well.
graphic, and it's in the
Yes.
video too. I'm not sure what they showed you, but yes, that's absolutely what we've seen. Yes, sir.
Scott, just a point or an observation. My exposure to your program goes back to the late 80s, 1980, that is. Anyway.
So we're not aging anyone.
At that time, there was a gentleman down there by the name of John Molnar.
I do know John.
You know John?
He's retired, but yes. I know
Of
John.
course he is, right? A lot of us should be retired at this age, but anyway, I've noticed the growth that's occurred in the program over the years, and I just want to compliment you on your leadership and stewardship. And I want to make one other comment. Former school board member here, Dr. John DeVries, this was his baby, and I wish he had been here tonight to hear your presentation. But it's being streamed and everything, and hopefully you'll be able to see it on TV later. Thank you, Scott.
My pleasure. Thank you,
Well,
everyone.
thanks, Scott. Any other questions from anyone? Do you know how many of our LC students are in that program?
Yes, you have this year exactly 82.
82. All right.
So 2 buses go up there each day. Yes.
That is just really awesome, isn't it? Just so noteworthy that, and good for Dr. DeVries for staying insistent about this
Oh,
and this
yes.
partnership. Because if I understand, there's some school corporations that choose not to participate in that partnership. I mean, not necessarily at Hammond, but not at your career center, but throughout the state of Indiana. There's just some that want to do their own thing, and
There's actually financial incentives to that because the state wants to encourage the pooling of resources and such. Because the CTE programs are some of the most expensive to run and operate. You know, trying to keep up with industry and things like that. So they want to encourage, and they actually have a small amount of additional funding for schools that attend career centers. But you're correct, there are some schools that go their own way.
wow, yeah, and for those of you in attendance, if can people come and visit the Career Center if they contact you?
Love to, yeah. I very much love to show off our school. So
I thought, I was really impressed, and I have to say, you know, I go back to my beginning days here as a school principal, and I never really heard good things about it, and that was back in the 1990s, and now it's just stellar what you've done. The welding program especially, I was like, wow, very impressive there. And as Sandy was saying, when we were down at the school board conference in Indy, everything down around Indy is about career readiness. Career readiness, and almost all the conference sessions were about this. So it's very timely that we have you here, and we thank you for your time tonight. And we're proud of you, LC grad. Yeah, we are. So his name is Scott Miller, Hammond Area Career Center, if you're interested. Thank you again, and thank you, ladies, young ladies, students. You did a nice job. All right, now we have Lake Central Education Foundation Fall Grants. And Mrs. Talent and Mrs. Schweitzer as our co-presidents. And board members, what we'll do is we'll stay here, and as they receive their grants, they'll come around and we can shake their hands from here, okay?
We want to be sure to thank the board, our central office, always for your good support of everything that the foundation tries to put into place to support our teachers. We also want to be sure to thank the parents that are maybe listening or watching as they support teachers at their schools. This year, we are able to offer through the Michelle Tyler Grant. This is our fall 2017 grant. Michelle Tyler was a teacher, very close to Mrs. Schweitzer.
She started at Grimmer, and when Clark opened, she moved over there, but she's still one of my best friends, and she did so much for her students. So through the generosity of her husband and other people in the community and in the corporation, we have funds and we're able to offer a grant in her name.
We have 553 grants that we've been able to provide over the period of time, and so that means $280,809.87 since 1996. So yeah. Tonight we have the opportunity to present $4,271.39 to teachers here at Lake Central. I do want to take a minute to introduce our board members. So first I'm just going to start with our Vice President. Vice President is Melody Wolf. Yeah, come on up, Melody, you're going to be up. And along with her is Julie Rosenwinkel. Julie is, and Melody also serve as our Grants Committee Chairman. We have Adrian Jimenez, come on up. Oh, no. Make sure we get everybody up here. And then we have Mike Seljan, who is our treasurer. So we do have a team, a group. We work together. Dr. Baracco mentioned the Science Olympiad and the fundraiser. So we appreciate everybody being here, and thank you. We're going to step out of the way, and you take it on.
Okay, I have recruited a new co-chair, Miss Julie, because Miss Louise has moved to a different position. So Julie and I are going to present the checks. Adrian, do you want to hand them out to the people as they come up? Okay, thank you. Okay, so the first one is Kimberly Kwanowski. Wojciechowski? No. Wazinski. Kwasinski. I said it! Okay, now Kimberly's from Kaler as the Ancient Egypt Papyrus Project. Thank you for getting me discombobulated. For the Ancient Egypt project, 7th graders at Kaler Middle School will apply the knowledge of ancient Egypt and their language by creating their own paper with the reeds, sending messages to one another by using the ancient Egyptian writing language of hieroglyphics. So that's her.
While you're reading these about them, can they stand right there so the audience that's viewing can see? Maybe like, oh, no, you're okay, but just so they can see these teachers that are doing such awesome things with their grant. You know what I mean? When you're reading their thing, can you be called up and just stand next to them, and then we'll shake your hand afterwards? Okay. I would just love people out there to be able to see who these people are.
The next recipient is Michelle Vogt. On camera.
Turn it on.
Okay. Michelle's from Trotsman, and her grant was called Adding Coding to the Curriculum. It's for $470.80. Adding coding to the curriculum will allow my 4th graders to learn about and implement coding skills, which is an up-and-coming field in our world. My students will gain the knowledge to work with these robots successfully.
Okay. Thank you. Our next one is Denise Snyder. She's from Clark, and her title is Getting Schooled at CMS for $493. Okay? Getting Schooled is a unique opportunity to further the growth and enthusiasm for the experience of meeting the successful author who promotes education, reading, and good character. So, good job, Michelle.
Congratulations. I like to say good things. Awesome. That's okay.
Preach it.
Our 5th grant is a group, so we have Sherry Venturelli, Sherry Cassius, Brittany Smoter, Holly Jones, and Tiffany Kelly from Bibbich.
right up here, Nancy. Come on. Very good. Very good.
Their grant is STEM Fun in Kindergarten for $500. Our STEM Fun in Kindergarten will promote critical thinking and exciting opportunities for students to expand their knowledge of science and math while exploring a variety of materials.
Tina DeBrock is next. Tina's from Proxima. Her title is Superhero Training, Yoga and Mindfulness for about $430. Superhero training will improve the students' listening skills, increase their confidence and positive emotions, and teach them how to respond rather than to react. It's going to promote posture, motor skill, and balance. So it deals with yoga and mindfulness. Good job, Tina.
Tina, can we come to that too?
I was going to say, I had to bring our own masks.
Thank you. Bring your own
And
mask.
the last line of your process, pass them down. We've gotten about 20 in the past week.
She also received money elsewhere and Mance as a donation. So she kind of dovetailed this with another thought process too, which I thought was really good.
Yeah.
Okay, our next grant is to Paul Volk and Mary Jo Martin from the high school. Their grant is Lake Central Art Science Skirt. Okay. By engaging students in understanding the science of color to achieve their personal best across the curriculum of study and to be self-directed, successful learners.
Can't wait to see the final product.
The next one is Christina Perez. She's from Bibbage. Cue ball. Her title is Cue Ball, Hear and Be Heard. With Cue Ball, students not only want to participate in the classroom discussion, but they actually learn more when everyone can hear what the teacher and other fellow students are saying. So a cue ball, it's a ball that, you want to explain it to them?
Yeah, I saw it on Shark Tank, if anybody watches the show. They can throw it, it won't break, or and it doesn't make any noise when they're throwing it, but it's basically so that they can have a microphone so they can give their answer loud and proud instead of whispering at their seat and no one can hear them.
Which is it's an interesting one. Awesome. Good job.
Okay, our next 4 grants are the Michelle Tyler grants that we gave this round, and the first recipient is Cindy Sweeney from Holman. Her grant is Head Sprout Tablet Reading Instruction Intervention. I love technology and I love teaching reading. Head Sprout allows me to do both in a fun and innovative way.
The next one is Kelly Rojahowski and Stephanie St. Amour. They're from Clark, helping Clark's struggling readers succeed. Okay? Reading is a life skill that this grant will enable students in functional skill program the opportunity to check out books that they can read independently and to find their own joy. And Stephanie is actually a student teacher. Oh no, she's not. Oh my gosh, she's not. We actually hired Stephanie. Okay.
It's all good.
Come on, it's all good.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. How she grows up.
Congratulations.
Is she your student
Melanie?
Her brothers are my students. So I've known Stephanie since she was, I mean, before school ever began.
Okay, the next one is Denise Snyder from Clark. And her grant is Escape from Mrs. Snyder's Library. After participating in a groundbreaking district-wide 5th grade reading event, students will be inspired to read the remaining books in Chris Gravenstein's series to further enhance their experience of meeting and entertaining positive literary role model. Denise was very ambitious because she wrote 2 grants, one for the normal round and one for the Michelle Tyler round.
The last one is Holly Jones, Sherry Ventrelli, Sherry Cassius, Brittany Smoother, and Tiffany Kelly again. They actually wrote 2 grants. They're from Vivage, and they're Whisper Phone Fun in Kindergarten. The Whisper Phone gives students the opportunity to monitor and assist students while improving students' language skills and creating lifelong readers and writers. So, thank you, ladies.
I know, but just bear with it. It's part of the Friday. Well, free. Sherry and Joe.
Okay. And we're so glad we hired Stephanie.
Yes.
Thank you once again, board.
Thank you.
We do need to have you recipients with a picture.
Absolutely. And we want to thank our community members for your volunteering on the committee work, and also for our teachers. It's just all volunteers. If any of you'd like to join, feel free. We're always looking for board members. If you'd like to go for the evening, now's the time.
Yeah, that's
If anyone else would like to slip out to do other work, feel free. Now's the time. Now's the time.
Not you, Richard. Don't even think about it, Richard.
But if you do need to leave for other responsibilities, now's the time.
Okay, moving on. My next item is to seek action on 4 board policies that were brought to this board on September the 18th. And the first one is policy 0155, and this is just an update of Neola language regarding the open door law that we have discussed at the previous meeting. So seek board approval for those upgrades.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Are there any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries.
Thank you. My next item is board policy 0131.2, and this is the policy again that we reviewed initially at our September 18th meeting, and the section that will be updated is the technical corrections piece, which says that if what we're updating is simply a number or the change of Indiana code or the change of a name of a person who is going to be a compliance officer, that the superintendent can make that change through the Neola process and bring a batch of those very minor changes to the board through the consent agenda. And so seek board permission to have that policy implemented beginning today.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? And that falls under then the consent agenda, correct?
Right, and you'll still get the policy with the change highlighted.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries.
Thank you. My next item is then policy 0132.1, selection of superintendent, and this is just Neola language that includes the code, which is what we're already doing in terms of posting the contract and all that stuff.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, and the fourth one is Board Policy 0133. It is the second paragraph that's highlighted in your packets regarding any controversy that arises, and we will select the second section that's highlighted and include that in our policy in the future.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions, discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Bracco.
All right, thank you. My next item is been brought up by Dr. Malco regarding termination and due process, specifically for classified staff members. What I put at your station this evening is page 12 and 13 from our classified handbook, which outlines the normal progressive discipline on page 12, and then on page 13, those items that may result in a termination without the 4 steps of the normal due process. So I open it up for discussion at this time. Dr. Malco?
Actually, I thought this related to the letter that that Mr. Marshall sent to us, right?
Which is all packaged together.
Right, right.
Okay?
No, I had already, yeah, this is fine. Go ahead, Howard.
All right, do you want to get into a discussion on it?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. At a previous board meeting, a number of names were brought before us by our very competent administrative staff, which we have hired to sort of help employees if they have concerns or problems, allow them to go through different steps, of which this classified employee handbook delineates 4 different steps before we reach the ultimate termination. It's not a nice thing to have on your record or face if you're an employee for whether it's 1 year or 5 years or 15 years. The point I was making in an email to my fellow board members who at that time requested information that I felt that goes far beyond necessary information for us to vote on the termination that's being presented to us. Given the fact that due process has been handled and these individuals, which thankfully are few and far between and face termination, have to face this issue, I don't personally feel that we as board members necessarily have to have all the gory details that led up to this decision. As it stands, our administration presents us with that, and we have an opportunity because we receive the board packet on a Thursday usually. I don't think Jeannie has really failed in that regard. It might have been delayed till Friday, and we have the entire weekend to ask each administrator if there's any involved, specific questions, if we have any concerns about the individual coming up for termination. Beyond that, I personally feel we have confidence in our administration and let them make the decision. That's what we hired them for, and we can move on from there. And I would solicit comments from my fellow board members if they happen to agree or disagree with that kind of a statement.
Any comments?
I would just have to say that after reviewing, the classified employee handbook and seeing that due process was done, that I think that our administration handled that subject and handled that particular incident very well, considering all the steps and all the procedures that were handled at that time last week.
No. Cindy?
I agree with what Howard.
Okay. My only question was certain things in the handbook that I'm not sure that we're following. One would be that the employee shall sign and receive a copy of any reprimand. And then I think the other one was about all jobs will be posted. But Dr. Bracco and I talked about that. And I think it's really important for us to, as a policy-making board, to make sure that what we're doing in practice aligns with what our handbooks are saying. So that was my concern, and he and I have talked about it. I think he's got plans to go through and update that, so. Okay, all right, thank you. Questions or comments?
I would just like to say that our employees who are in that system, anything between a memorandum of understanding or a substandard, they are met with, and they do have an opportunity to sign that. There is a statement on every one of those that states that their signature does not necessarily agree or disagree with the comments, but that they received a copy. That does happen on a memorandum of understanding as well as a substandard for classified. Now, we have verbal, we meet with faculty individuals all the time who maybe did something that just warrants a verbal warning. Those are not as part of.
Right, right. And we just, when we talked the other day, Dr. Bracco and I, we even brainstormed with the idea, and he can talk with you about this, that maybe just to have a checkoff list that the steps have been followed. Does that make sense? But you can talk with them about it.
It would be in the file.
Yeah.
It would be in the file.
Is that a checkoff for the administrators, or is that something you want to see here in the employee handbook?
Oh, I hadn't even thought about it that way.
Not from, I see what you're saying from that perspective, from an administrator standpoint, are they following all the procedures?
Right.
I'm saying, do you want to see something that, in the employee handbook that says, yes, a verbal warning was done, or a written warning? You will be given a verbal warning, a written warning, because I think that's kind of written out here, spelled out here on page 12.
I don't think we really ever got to the specifics of it as far as implementation. It was just an idea that we brainstormed about. Just like we have the checklist that you've given to us about new hires, which has been really helpful to know.
Okay.
I don't think we ever got any further than that, so that's just something that you as administrators can talk about.
That clarifies.
There were the two areas that we were not, from my observation, not in alignment in our practice related to what the verbiage was. So I just want to make sure we got that cleaned up. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. All right. Moving ahead, and professional leave requests. Dr.
Sure. Rob and I are looking to, after this meeting ends, drive down to Indianapolis for a conference tomorrow on retirement plan compliance workshop. So seek board approval so we can drive to Indy tonight.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you. I also have a request for Al and I to attend the superintendent study, or the statewide superintendent annual meeting, 11/29 through 11/30 in Indianapolis, and that's in your packet as well.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. My next item is to seek board approval for a consultant contract for Steve Klink to support us in some surveying of our community and other public relations matters.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All right, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries.
Thank you. My next item, I think I'm going to ask Richard to fill in some gaps here, but the high school is applying again to the Department of Education for a non-standard waiver to honor, or to grant credit rather, for the career and readiness course that takes place in our Pathways to Excellence section over an extended period of time, not just in a 18-week semester like many other courses where students earn credit. And to do that, we wanted to make sure the board was aware of what we're going to request the state to give us. Richard, do you want to fill in some gaps?
Actually, I'll go ahead and defer to Mr. Warren. He's helped us out with that.
Okay.
Sure. The way it was laid out before was to have like a half credit for
Well,
that course.
sir, I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you want to come up here because you're going to be on TV, so our audience can hear you.
It's my pleasure. The way the course was laid out before was to earn a half credit, and Indiana, through their funding system, does not allow half credits. So we had to look at how we were going to do that, and there was also some additional concerns on making sure that the licensed teachers had enough exposure with the students. I worked with principal, administrative team of the high school, your lead counselor, and we were able to come to understanding that it fulfilled the state requirements and will still provide funding to Lake Central for that course. So that's the long and short of it. We just got it signed, though. I remember signing it just last week. So actually, I think it might have been this Monday. But yeah, and that should be good moving forward. That's for the Preparing for College and Careers course. Yeah.
Okay. So there's really no change in the actual model, it's just fine tuning some of the paperwork on.
It's fine tuning it to meet the state specifications, but no, it's still happening in the, I'm sorry, what is the time called?
PTE.
PTE time, yes, it's still happening at PTE time.
Yeah.
Curriculum is fundamentally the same, it's just meeting the state guidelines so the funding can be provided.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Are there any questions? All right, well, can we call for, or wait, I guess we need a motion, don't we?
I thought, did you have one?
No, I'll make a motion on that, make a motion on the non-standard waiver.
And I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Are there any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving ahead to Assistant Superintendent.
Dr. Crocker's finally done.
If you want to go ahead and go and hit the road, seriously.
We don't have that much left.
Okay.
My first item is just to seek your approval for the personnel recommendations that were in the original as well as the revised packet this evening.
So moved.
Second. All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Are there any questions? And all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries.
Thank you. My second item is to seek your approval for a professional leave request from Mr. James and I, who will be attending the IASBO Human Resources Seminar in Indianapolis on November 9th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Is this a family medical leave special?
This encompasses, that's just one topic on the agenda, and it encompasses all of human resources.
You guys should just move down by Indy, huh?
Well,
It's a long trip, isn't it? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries.
my third item is presented to you the collective bargaining agreement that was ratified by the Lake Central Teacher Association a couple of weeks ago. This would include, of course, all of our Lake Central Teachers members, as well as the non-collective bargaining salary increases of administrators, school psychologists, school service providers, as well as our speech language pathology assistants. This would include everyone in one packet. So I take your questions and seek your approval for that item.
Move to approve.
I'd like to second that.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions?
Just a quick comment. I'd like to thank all parties involved. A big thumbs up.
Thank you,
Great
Howard.
job. So, Mr. Gandolfi, you have this highlighted, so that means there's changes? Where are the changes? I couldn't find them.
The changes is the additional sheet that included the non-collective bargaining salary increases. Because, of course, you know, your administrators, your school psychologists, your school service providers, they're not part of the collective bargaining agreement. They're outside of the collective bargaining agreement, but they all receive the same compensation. So it's to include all of those additional groups, as well as the speech language pathology assistants.
Okay, and where is that in here?
That's a separate item that was placed at your station setting.
Yeah, so I have it. It's like at the end.
No, it's not a separate sheet.
It's right after the F and I.
Oh, the one, okay, that one, okay. I got you. So that's.
No, go the other way. Right there.
Okay. Very good, thank you. All right, are there any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And thank you very much. Appreciate your efforts on that.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, moving ahead, Director of Primary Education.
Thank you. I just have one item, and that is to present to you in collaboration with LCTA the 2018-19 and 2019-20 school calendars. You should have copies of those calendars in your board packet. I'll just point out a few highlights. As you can see, they're very similar. In both years, teachers start on a Monday and students start on a Tuesday. Both of them have a first semester of 89 days and a second semester of 91 days. That is a little bit of a discrepancy, but we're comfortable with that because we lose a couple of days in that second semester for all the testing that goes on. And both have the first semester in before winter break. So if you don't have any questions, I'd like to seek your approval of the 2018-19 and 19-20 school calendar.
So moved.
Can I ask a question first? Question, is there research that shows that semesters need to end before Christmas break? Like, why are we pushing to start so early? I know we've been doing it for the last few years. I just have some people that have asked me about this, why we're pushing to start, why it's so important that it ends before winter break.
I don't know that there's any research. We certainly have gotten feedback from our families that their high schoolers can then enjoy their winter break instead of studying.
We have
and-
formally surveyed our student population at the high school, and they overwhelmingly appreciated it.
No, and I understand that. I just have people that don't appreciate starting that early, so I want to ask the question out there.
I'm not
because while
trying to be
I'm
snarky.
right, yeah,
No,
no, I'm not. Please
That's
understand, I'm not.
It's
Yeah,
for
I'm not.
students. We're doing it for students.
But
I
do
get the
wanna-
same question, so I
Right,
understand
that's
where you're
all I'm
coming from.
saying, is we're
We got-
getting these
We got the
questions.
parents that, why
Right.
does it start, later?
Right, why can't you
But
do
I
a
get-
unit,
yeah,
2-week
I get
unit
the same
after
question.
Christmas break?
Yeah.
Why does it have to, why can't the final exam happen, let them do it, you know what I mean? That's the questions that are coming to me
I
as
do
a
want
board
to,
member.
I do want to add to that though, that, all of the AP exams, those test dates are set. They're national and they're set by a certain time. So, the later you start in a school corporation, the less time you have with those children, with your children prior to that exam. You can't move that exam either way. So there is a benefit to the population of students that we have in AP classes that are taking those high-stakes AP exams to actually earn that credit at college. There is a distinct advantage to them to start a little bit earlier, and those teachers have more time with their students prior to that exam.
And I agree with you, parents are just saying for the kids that aren't AP students, for the kids that are in AP classes but aren't taking those AP exams, because those aren't mandated. We are changing an entire schedule for elementary, middle school, and everything else, so they're just curious for those, let's say 200, I don't know how many kids take the exam offhand, maybe 500. Can they do something for the 2 weeks to enrich prior to, so they've got that time? They've got summer curriculum work that they do for AP. They have things that they do for that. So the other parents just want to make sure that we as a board are looking at that, saying, August is a month where it's usually pretty hot, and that people enjoy that month rather than getting off May 21st. Some of them said they would prefer to go to the first week of June and go to June 3rd. So I'm just bringing that up and letting you know, again, just things that are coming to me as a board member. I understand there's plenty of people that enjoy doing that, but there's another population that are fine with not, and that's all I'm saying. I just want to make sure that they are heard as well.
I think it's important that, as we get close to those AP exams, that the high school present out on actually what is the population that are taking those exams as well. I think it's important for the board to know, how many of those folks are studying for those exams.
And a few years ago, Sarah and I headed a calendar committee where we had different representatives from the community, including students, families, teachers, and what came out of that
And
committee.
Sayor Summers people.
Right.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
And what came out of that committee was, after hearing all of it, they did understand the rationale for the early start and finishing before semester, so.
I just didn't know if there was, I understand that parents are going to have their own opinion, students are going to have, I just wondered if there was research behind it, why that move was made rather than just because somebody wanted it. Just curious.
Well, if you think about it, you wouldn't need a whole lot of research behind it to know that if you cover more material before you take an exam, you'll likely do better. And that
Correct.
wouldn't just be AP tests, that would be every I-STEP test, that would be every end of course assessment, that would be I-READ 3. So, I mean, if we really wanted to be obnoxious about it, we would end school at the day of the test. I mean, we would start school July 1 and end it on the first week of May as soon as the tests are done. But that's really extreme. But when you look at people on the balanced calendar, that's exactly why I believe they went back to start in the third or fourth week of July, because they want to get as much of that material covered as possible. But I would still say that a big piece of it for me was letting students who take aggressive schedules in high school get a true break at Christmas and do some pleasure reading and go on vacation and not take their backpack with them. And I know that parents of elementary kids and maybe even middle school kids don't understand it as much, but I do believe we can do another survey of our high school parents, and I think you'll see overwhelmingly they think it's really a good policy and a good calendar.
Any other questions? It's interesting to sit back and hear you talk because, see, I don't have to worry about it because I'm retired and I don't have children in school, so.
It doesn't matter to me either, I'm just saying that the parents are asking that question,
And that's-
and I wasn't here when they did those, and I wasn't sure why it was, I didn't know it was gonna cause such controversy. So I
Well,
just
and you
asked the
know,
question.
for years, people further south from us have moved their dates up. For years, they've been starting much earlier down around Lafayette and that area. So it was a big change for us, and I understand it, especially when the kids get on the buses. That's the part that really bothers me, because when they're in the buildings are all air conditioned, but those school buses are not air conditioned. And that's the part that has always concerned me. But, well, we would appreciate, yeah, just some
Thank you.
follow-up on that and
Thank you,
keeping
yeah.
us informed as to what's happening. So call for a vote on this. We have a motion, and we don't have a second yet, I believe.
Second?
All right, now we have a motion and a second, so call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries. Thank you. And Director of Secondary Ed.
Thank you. My first item is to seek your approval for the revised professional leave requests that were at your table this evening.
So moved.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries.
Thank you. My second item is to seek your approval for the field trip request as presented.
So moved?
I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries.
Thank you. And for my third item, I just wanted to provide some information about some new counseling services that we will be having at the high school. We have an increasing number of students who seem to want or need counseling services, but oftentimes it's difficult for their parents to get them to a therapist in the evening due to work schedules or transportation issues. So we've been very fortunate to partner with Choices Counseling Services, which is based out of Valparaiso, and they serve Lake Porter and LaPorte counties. Our school counselors basically will be able to refer our students to the counselors, and from there, their office staff will work with the families to figure out insurance information, payments, etc. And then the therapist will actually be able to provide in-school a variety of services to our students. It will range from basic counseling to substance abuse counseling, as well as risk assessments if there's any students who are showing suicidal ideation. So to start, Choices is going to send a counselor to the high school about 2 days a week for a few hours. We will pull students who are seeking out those additional counseling services from their electives, and then if we need to expand the services from there, we will. But we're very happy to have set up this partnership so that we can provide some more intensive services for our students in need.
Great. Good call.
Are there any questions? We just talked about the school board policy to make sure that all of these supported programs are properly licensed. So you have all that in file?
Licensed therapist, yes.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you for sharing that. All right, and Director of Special Ed?
My first item is to seek your approval for the professional leave request that was included in your packet.
Move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and we have a second. Are there any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries.
And then for my second item, I just wanted to provide some information about a training that we held last week for both staff members and parents. Language acquisition and motor planning is a protocol for supporting students with assistive and augmentative communication devices. So these are technology devices that actually give students a voice and a means to communicate. And a lot of the information we're getting from both the state level and our federal special education office is that one of our charges as a school is to make sure all students have a functional mode of communication. So AAC is a viable option for a lot of our students. So we're working very closely with a company called Prentke-Romich, which supports the LAMP protocol. And so we had Beth Browning, who's our district rep, here last week, and she visited 3 classrooms on Monday, the 16th, and was able to provide coaching and support to teachers in the moment in the classroom and really show them how to utilize devices in the classroom. We then hosted a parent training actually in this room that evening. It was about an hour and a half, and we had 15 parents, caregivers, and even some siblings come so they could learn how to work with their family member on the device. And then on Tuesday, we did 2 sessions of training, and we had 12 paraprofessionals and 7 teachers participate in that. We have our teachers are pretty well trained in this, and our speech language pathologists, but our paras are the people in the moment who need to be able to help students with these devices, and it's very hard for our teachers to push that training down in the classroom, so we were able to pull them out. We did 2 half-day trainings and really give them some good information outside of the classroom in a less stressful environment. So we got really good feedback from all the staff members involved. There were a lot of aha moments, and parents felt really good about it. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I see a sign out front that you had preschool screening too?
We did. We have our community-based preschool screenings monthly, except December. We take December off. So we are holding those. We alternate between this room and one in Munster. So we go back and forth every month, and that meets our child find responsibilities.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Are there any other questions? All right, and Director of Facilities, no, and Director, no. So, Mr. James.
I only have one item for your approval this evening, is to seek your approval on a few donations that have been recently received and to be given. First, Cheryl Bowler-Boss donated $250 to the high school for Tom Clark's Vietnam project. The Clark Middle School cheerleaders received a donation of $100 from Tiger Plumbing and $50 from Morris Family Insurance. And Bibbich Elementary School received $100 from the Network for Good, the Exelon Dollars for Doers program. On the given side, Clark Middle School Boys and Girls Cross Country teams recently held a fundraiser for a middle school that was impacted by Hurricane Harvey in Texas, and they collected $448.25, and they would like to donate that to Pershing Middle School in Houston. This is in addition to the $868 that Clark raised that was approved at the last school board meeting. So seek your approval on those donations received and to be given.
Move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and we have a second for those most generous donations and receipts. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And are there any public comments? All right, moving ahead, board comments and consideration of future agenda items. And Mr. Baxo?
I just wanted to congratulate the grant recipients again, and thank you, Scott, for coming out and giving us an overview. I would definitely, I didn't get a chance to go, but I would definitely love to come up there and take a tour. I'll have to give you a call or send you an email on that. I'm glad we had our discussion today also about due process and other things like that to keep it open and keep our verbal communication going here as board members. That's great. And then just thank our administration for doing a great job.
Very good. Mr. Marshall?
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
You're welcome. And Mrs. Suze?
Just want to wish the 8th graders that are all traveling to Washington, D.C. this weekend a safe, fun trip.
Very good. And Mrs. Lesentine?
Nothing this time.
All right. I know that there's a lot going on in our schools. I know the cross-country teams competed this past weekend, and I know our band is competing this coming weekend, and there's dance teams competing, and cheerleading competitions. It's just amazing what happens around our schools. I am curious, Mr. Gandolfi, if you could give us an update, maybe at the next board meeting, how those developments out there on 93rd are affecting our student enrollment numbers, or if they are, in fact, affecting our student.
Developments on 93rd.
Yeah, the ones that were redistricted over to Village.
Oh, you mean where they're at in terms of just their building and sales?
No, I know where they are, but I didn't know if
No, I'm
we had
saying as
any.
in numbers.
Yeah, if we had any student impact, student enrollment impact, right? Veterans Day programs are coming up. I know that we would like to share and make sure that one of us is at each.
It's on my
Veterans
list. We
Day
have a
program.
Google Doc out right now where the principals are filling in their times, and we should have that within a day or two. We'll get that to you board as soon as it's filled in.
Okay, very good, very good. And as you all know, last year was the first year the high school did a Veterans Day program. They will be doing one again this year now. Are you anxious to get on the road?
Second year.
Second year to do one?
Last year was their second year.
Oh, what? Okay. This is their third. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. And I'm not saying it's better than any of the others, other than the fact that there's so many kids in the bleachers just sitting there, and they're so well behaved. They're perfect. They're perfect.
World War II better.
It speaks very highly for our students and our parents. But I was talking to Mr. Volk, and they're doing a lot of special design evidently for the Veterans Day. They're making banners of some of the veterans and red, white, and blues. It sounds really awesome.
We're trying to improve every year.
Absolutely, and you do a great job on it. And of course, they come through the elementary and middle school with some really good background in that, don't they? Yes, they do. And I noticed in the paper, and I'm not gonna say other than I noticed in the paper that Portage has said no phones in their classrooms. I'm curious as to how that is going. Does anybody have any contact, any information? I know Munster says they have no phones in the classrooms too. I would love some information on that. I think it's time we start talking about it.
I know, I'm keeping my mouth shut right now.
Well, we can talk about it, good conversation, right? All right, Dr. Bracco, moving ahead.
Yeah, we're back to the first and third Mondays in November for our board meetings. That's the 6th and 20th. And as I said before, we look forward to getting that Veterans Day schedule out where board members and administrators can get around and see those very heartwarming presentations by students and staff.
All right, very good. Are there any other questions, comments? Call for adjournment?
Move for adjournment.
Second?
We have a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.